Alright, flip number 9 is going to be mighty fine. This is our 2019 aerobic compost effort. And we're on the, I think the 24th of May. So we still can flip this thing for another week if I want to stay within my timing in terms of being able to plant this area up. And push comes to shove, I can let her go even a little bit longer. And we'll see how the pile develops. It's kind of going to be close, I think, to start distributing it here, starting in first week of June. I don't know. Gotta find out. I don't know. I've only done 10 of these. I'm sure there are still surprises I have to learn. And even then, might be something that's nobody ever seen. So I got a couple comments on my last video about composting people, and I had an epiphany. And I'm pretty good at composting, I think, in terms of comparing me to maybe other people. So if anybody wants to have their corpse composted, I don't know, I'd probably do it for $5 grand or something. So I caught a mouse, putting that right there. I've got some more, the last of the honey locust pods that I'm going to be adding. I actually harvested these honey locust pods from a Holiday Inn, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. And they're starting to get moldy, so this is it. I have some of the trees growing from those seeds, so I got that part covered. I don't need any more. I also got some Hershey honey locusts from some guy out there on the East Coast. But they're only like 6 inches high. They'll take maybe 10 or 15 years. Okay, I got something else that's new. I gotta get my shovel. Not planning ahead. And that's the tailings of ant mounds, along with some of the wild plants that were growing on them. There's lots of ants in here crawling around. Now the tailings of ant mounds contains quite a few elements. The two that we're looking for is potassium and phosphates. Now if you were just to get this ant mound tailings and just put it on your garden, what you're going to be doing is creating some ant hills in your garden. So I don't know if you can see the ants crawling around on there. There's probably some eggs in here too that we're going to find. But because I'm hot composting the tailings, the ants are going to become nitrogen, and we're not going to have any ant mounds. Then we have a number of wild plants again. The primary two are stinging nettle and burdock. Since we got some stinging nettle in there, I better get my gloves on. Although I do pick them without gloves on sometimes, or most of the time. That's when you grab them way down below at the base of their stem. There's not as many stingers there. You only get warm hands instead of hands that hurt. Plus I think there's some value to getting stung by stinging nettles. Some health value. last year's compost, I actually had cow manure that I got from a guy that raises beef cattle. He barns or houses his cows through the winter, and then he accumulates a lot of manure in the barn. Then he scrapes it out, and he actually gives it away for free. And I think it's decent manure. The problem with it for composting is it has straw incorporated into manure. And it's not chopped straw, it's long stems of straw. And it actually binds that manure together in big chunks. And a lot of it didn't get fully composted with the pile last year. And I'm kind of reminded of it here because I've got some larger chunks, but not even close to like what that was. And my solution to that, because I didn't anticipate it being so long, and my solution was I just incorporated all those big chunks into the circle beds that I made here, and the worms took care of the rest of it. And boy, it turned into some really fine material. I got some left from last year. Let me get, it's right below. I got the camera sitting on the pile. Let me show you how fine this stuff got. Right here, this is last year's compost that I used for those circle beds. I actually took the time to shovel up all of those circle beds and put it in a pile in the shade here by the fence. That's last year's compost. So I already grew a crop with it. And I don't know, somebody was telling me, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not looking at this scientifically, and I don't want to. I want to use my intuition. But my instincts. But this fellow talked about how compost should rest for a time before you put it in the soil itself proper. And I don't remember the reason he gave for it, but I thought, well, you know what, I'm kind of doing that. I am growing crops in it the first year, so I'm making use of it while it's rusting, and then I incorporate it into gardens. I think that works. And again, I don't want all of these seeds to be composted. I want them just to get hot and see if I can get a bunch of them to germinate and make trees. Just as an experiment, see what happens. They're still hydrated pretty nice. I guess the last time I wasn't getting on a pile very good with my camera, but I think we're good here now, aren't we? Yeah. It's almost centered. My camera's not working properly anymore. Probably from the time it fell doing this compost heap. There's a display screen on it, and that display screen is also used it's a touch screen. You use it to get into the menu, and you have to use it to delete videos, and that's not working. Well, this camera does have a very large storage capacity, so I'm probably good to complete this pile. But then I'm going to have to get another camera I'm looking for used ones that'll match all the accessories I've got. But this is a camera that they came out with in 2011. There aren't that many for sale. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I got a backup camera that's adequate, but it has a problem focusing. I wore that one out too. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll take a break from videographing for a while. I was sick of videotaping and editing and everything last year. I didn't put up as many videos. I just didn't want to deal with it. It was really nice when I went fishing and hunting that I didn't do so much, because it kind of gets in your way. I'm not like a fishing show that has hired guys that are just sitting there with their camera. Got some really big burdock roots too. I had a little area there that was overgrown with them, and they compost pretty readily. So the next flip I might have some more comfrey. I had some smaller plants that I didn't harvest the first time I added some to this pile. And they're getting larger. Comfrey is really good for firing up a pile. It's got a lot of nitrogen in it. Remember all that sod I put in there? There ain't much of that left. That wasn't too long ago. Here's one that fell off. You can see how it's getting worked over. turning sod into compost. $5 will do that for you too. Of course, I better not say that. Somebody will come up with like 10 acres of it. No, this compost pile, all these demonstrations, all of this is geared for a small holding. You know, if you've got a couple, 4 or 5 acres, you know, maybe you can mimic this with a bobcat, but then you need to have a lot more material. So this human hair that I put in here as a whole piece didn't break apart very well. So, but then you got machines to pay for. Of course, if you got that much, maybe you got a market garden and you're making some money at it. But I think it's hard to make money with a market garden if you got too many machines, because it's the cost of the machine, the cost to repair, the cost to properly maintain it, and the cost to fuel it. Man, once you start adding those costs into your operation, you start adding more. Well, now you probably got employees. Now you're under the gun. Now you have to make money, pay all the bills. So this type of composting, I think, is more for a smallholder. Somebody who's interested in growing healthy food. Maybe in a situation where there's people that don't have any money, and they're just living a subsistence lifestyle. You know, they got animals around, so they got access to manures, and the green material is readily available. If you can dry it, make your dried material. That's what these demonstrations are for. You know, I don't know how much compost one guy can make, but you know, I'm older now and I don't have the ambition like I used to. But maybe a young guy can have 10 times this many going, and every day he spends 4 or 5 hours flipping them. Or maybe there's a group of young men, group of people. I mean, that doesn't even have to be a man. Women can do this too. You just maybe take a smaller fork if they're not as strong. Takes a little longer. Big deal. So, you know, primary would be to grow healthy food without having to use chemicals or pay for chemicals or incorporate chemicals into the food. It's primary objective. Secondary objective, in this particular economy, you'll save money, because you know, if you're going to go and buy organic food and you really want it to be real stuff, not this, you know, the big corporations, they're just trying to fool you, saying it's organic, but it's not really organic. Who's going to prosecute them if they get caught cheating? Nobody, because remember I told you we're living in a fascist government? Well, the fascist government protects the business model and the profits of the same corporations that are cheating you. So again, the secondary reason you want to do this is to save money. And then if you're one of those persons that think kind of worldly, globally, you can think about carbon sequestration, because we're doing plenty of that. And at the same time, we are lessening the need for people who are growing this compost and growing their own food. They're lessening the need of agribusiness. And now, you know, we could probably turn some of that land that's been denuded of the biology, of normal biology, and we can turn that back into normal stuff. That's one of the things about permaculture design. They have a plan for you how you can speed that up and get it back into a climax forest stage faster than if you just left to try to do it on its own. It can be done, but you need willing participants. Oh, I forgot about my ant tailings. I guess that's the male thing, huh? We sit there and yak and we don't pay attention to what we're doing. Women, on the other hand, probably can have 15 conversations going on at once and still pay attention. That's why they're more important. That is a root from a tansy. It's starting to break down. Put it right on the top because that's where all the moisture's been going. So in one of my permaculture courses, one I paid for, and I've actually taken a couple of them online that are free, including that one I just started with Nicholas Bertner from the School of Permaculture. But in one of them, they talked about how 1 square yard of this compost, if you use it judiciously, you know, wherever you plant, you make a little depression in the soil, you put down some compost, and then you plant your seed or your plant in that hole that you made with compost in it. If you do that, 1 yard of compost can grow enough vegetables for 1 person all year. So I can kind of see how that works, and I suppose it depends if you're starting with subsoil, maybe not. So if you're starting with a normal garden, makes sense to me. Especially if you're doing a compost heap like this where you're adding all these different elements to it. And I'm covering the bases here. Versus, you know, these guys that run down to the store and buy 10-10-10 or some other mixture of NPK. Well, for one thing, it's chemical based, and the plants drink it instead of eating. And since it's soluble, they use salt in the mixture. So now your soil is getting salted and your plants are drinking instead of eating. You're not getting the nutrition. They're just basically plumping up with water. I mean, it's good if you're selling, well, it's not good in any respect, but if you're selling food as in terms of growing quickly and having a lot of weight, well, sure. You have a plant that's pumped up with water or using NPK. You know, we're going to gauge this all in money terms. Well, I suppose it works. We're looking at the money economy. But if you're looking at a healthy lifestyle, you don't want to use NPK. You want to be making compost like this. Well, those ant tailings are some nice fine soil too. Yeah, I learned that in the permaculture design course too. You listen to me long enough, you're just going to be gardening. You're not really going to be interested in design. You'll probably get enough just from listening to me, which is okay. But if you have that wherewithal to go ahead and participate in the design course, I would highly recommend it. It's a 72-hour course if they're doing it right. There's a lot of people right now that are using the word permaculture and they're not really following the curriculum like you find in Permaculture Designer's Manual. You know, they do some local stuff, they do a lot of hands-on stuff. They're not really teaching you design. What they're teaching you is, you know, perhaps growing food in your climate, which I don't have any contention about that at all. But then it's not a permaculture design course. You know, maybe they can call it permaculture-based master course for such and such a climate. But I don't think they can use the word design in it. But you know, that's just my idea. You know, the people who are using the word but not really following the curriculum, they might have other ideas. That's okay, I'm not going to argue too loudly about it, but if I got a chance to say that about something once in a while, I'm going to say it. You know, the course isn't perfect. You know, can't meet everybody's definition of what's perfect, ever. And of course it was basically designed back in, I think, 88 or 82 or something. Conceived probably late 70s. So there's probably a few ideas that are maybe outdated, or maybe not necessarily outdated, but maybe there's a better situation. But that isn't the point. The point is learning how to design. And even if you start designing based on a certain climate, you know, climates are changing. So having a cross-section of ideas climate-wise, I think is a good idea. And I've taken some of these ideas that are promoted in the manual in terms of it being an arid climate design, and I've kind of incorporated into some of mine here in cold climate. And I can't think of anything that didn't work out. When they talk about banana circles and where you got the idea from, well, I adapted the circle bed gardening from the banana circle idea. Well, maybe this weekend I'll do an update on my main crop garden number 5, because I did a video on it. It's right here, right next door. It's 15 square feet. Check it out, I did a video of it. I think, what did I call it? Do you want to start a permaculture garden? I think that's the name of the video. And I've got permaculture main crop garden number 5 as keywords. Maybe this weekend I'll do an update on it, because it's coming along very, very well. It's exceptional. I was laughed at the other day. Some lady says, "Oh, you can't grow anything now. It's too cold." And I says, "Well, yeah, you can. I'm growing a lot of things right now." And she laughed at me. She didn't believe me. I'll do a video on it. You'll see how kind of growth I'm getting out of these circle beds. I'm surprised. Okay. Maybe I'll go in now and listen to a song I've been listening to lately. It's in my head. It's called Dorian. The songwriter, the singer, the performer, her name is Agnes Obel. Agnes Obel. I believe she's a European. I've been listening to this Kaleidoscope Orchestra. You know, you can only listen so many times, and then you gotta find something new. That's my new one now. Dorian. Got another one called Curse. I like that one too. So I'll probably play that about 100 times, and then I'll find something else. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? My future is not so clear. I have a propensity to start new things. Sometimes they get me in trouble. Definitely wouldn't have taken the permaculture design course if I was just doing what I always did, which basically, you know, hunting and fishing and working. Okay. pile is, I think, is getting really close to being ready to make beds out of it. It's not perfect. It's going to have some bigger chunks, I can see that, but that's not a problem. I just don't want it to have too much carbon, because plants need nitrogen too. And it looks like we're going to have enough nitrogen in it. Next time or two I'll put a whole bunch more comfrey in it. That'll up it. I've been thinking about going and getting some rabbit manure. I haven't quite pulled the trigger on doing that yet. I just don't feel like driving around looking for stuff. I'm saving a lot of money by not driving around like I used to. That's it. Okay, sufficiently talked your head off. So thanks for watching.